Dominic, welcome.
Hello.
We were just talking about the fact that people play Shape of My Heart incorrectly on YouTube. Okay, now this is kind of an important thing. This is one of the most played songs ever. Not just the version that you and Sting wrote, but the countless other versions.
First of all, I'm happy that people are trying to work it out. I wasn't really trying to work it out when I came up with it, but it's, you know, it's one of those things. There's a lot of little nuances in it that it's not really that important, to be honest with you. But if people are going to educate and say, this is the way it's done, well then, you know, at least get it right.
I want to set the record straight for how it's actually played.
Okay, well...
let's start with how it was actually played on the original recording.
Well, on the original recording, actually, it's funny you asked that, because I used a solid body nylon string guitar. It was a Fernandez, and so it had a long neck, and it had a cutaway.
Yep.
So I had access. The way I actually played it originally was right up here. So but you can't really do that on this kind of guitar.
Right.
You know, so I played it kind of, I'll try and do it. And the thing is that chord is way easier to play it there.
Yes.
Than it is to play it somewhere else. So the way people have been teaching it for years, and they're not at fault, it's because live I always played it down here.
Right.
Because of there's something wrong with, the other problem with playing it up here is that you might have tuning issues, intonation issues.
Yeah.
So I've been playing it sort of here. See, that's the problem chord.
It's so awkward to play that.
The problem with that chord, I got to tell you a funny story about this, because I saw one of these videos that you're talking about. It's some Dutch guy I think he's got a lot of followers or something. And he's very good guitarist and a good educator. But first of all, I saw the headline of the video which showed up on my feed, and it said, Sting's most iconic riff, and I thought, I was interested to see what that might be. Is it Roxanne? Is it going to be Every Breath You Take? And I'm genuinely intrigued. So I turn on the video, and it's Shape of My Heart. Okay, first of all, that's a mistake. And so I thought, I want to see this video. So then he's going on and on with the video, talking about the song and everything. And I'll go, okay, well, that's okay. I don't really mind, you know, who cares? Because why should I really care, you know? It's not that important. But then he said, he's talking about this, how difficult it is, these chords. He says, but the guy who plays it live doesn't play that chord live because it's, you know, it's a very awkward chord to play, but he doesn't do it live. He does a variation.
He takes the easy way out.
He takes the easy way out, and I'm thinking, really? And then I thought, that's not true, but then actually it is true. Because the thing is that chord, it's almost impossible to play if you're standing.
Yeah.
Sitting down, it's okay.
Of course.
But if you're standing, playing that is really difficult. So I modified it to go, I play it like that. So
which is nice too.
Which is nice too.
But
I took it personally.
Yeah.
I thought, first of all, the guy who plays it live is playing it wrong.
The guy who plays it live wrote the lick.
Yeah, but now I'm playing it correctly, but it's so difficult, and I'm really struggling, you know, standing up. I am playing it the right way, but it's like, I'm only doing it because I want that guy to see the video. See a video of me playing it. Yeah, maybe.
Okay, but actually every part of the riff is harder to play, because even like the D flat, the 7th chord there, because all those things are closer together up high.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it is easier up high. Everything is, especially this. That chord is definitely easier up there.
Yes.
Because you're not doing a big stress.
Yeah, and then the next chord is easier, really. Not that it's hard or anything.
Then everything else is normal.
Yeah.
I'll play you the riff the way that I see it.
Okay.
Okay? The way it really is. It's like with this fingering, so it's... So it's very simple.
But it starts with a single note, though.
It starts with a single note, because a lot of people, what they get wrong is they start... But then it's got no kind of... It doesn't really roll.
It needs
to kind of roll. So I start with a... Obviously, I'm exaggerating the bass there. But so
yes.
Normally, I just kind of brush it, so it's really quiet, etc.
All right, let's talk about some of the other versions. Craig David did it. There's his version, right?
Rise and Fall.
Rise and Fall, which was a big hit. Big hit.
Yeah.
But the Juice WRLD version was a massive hit. And there's been so many covers. Why do people keep coming back to that riff?
I really don't know, and I'm very happy that they do, but I saw an article written about that, and I think that, to answer your question, I think the main reason is that there's something about that tempo and also a descending chord sequence seems to kind of connect with people. Something about, like a House of the Rising Sun is a descending chord sequence. Whiter Shade of Pale is a descending chord sequence. There's something about a chord sequence that just keeps going down. I think that might have something to do with it. And the chords are not like conventional chords, and they're sort of more like classical type chords.
Right.
And I think that's why people identify with it. But the Juice WRLD version is interesting because really since we came up with that song, every year I get a request for clearance for some artist anywhere in the world, in Japan, in Russia, in Czech Republic, or in England, or America, a lot in America, especially with the rap genre. I get asked for clearance many times, and this was one such day when my manager sent me a version. Usually I go, sure, yeah, why not? I approve.
Right.
What do I care?
Anybody wants to cover your song, great.
You can do what you want with it.
Yeah.
But this one I'd heard, and as soon as I listened to it, I thought, this is like, doesn't sound like anything. It's like an 808 bass drum playing the bass. Right. So it was like a tuned bass. I thought, what are they doing? I thought it sounded dreadful. But then I was really intrigued by the vocals and by the lyrics and what he did with the melody. And I thought, this is probably one of the better, more interesting versions that I've heard of this. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't even make it past the first chorus, actually.
Okay.
I thought, yeah, good. And I carried on with I was in an airport somewhere, just listening with headphones.
Right.
And it's fine. But then the thing really blew up. And it's like, I don't know, the sting, and I called him, I said, do you realize that we've got like a song that's been playing on the radio every day, all day, in 2018?
Yeah.
And he says, I know, yeah. But then it just kept going up and up and up, and then it became a huge hit. And of course, we're very happy with that. There have been other versions that were really good too, that didn't really do much. We like our version,
right?
And the other funny thing, Rick, is that it's that sometimes people think that Sting nicked it off Juice WRLD, And I've got a few videos that I've done with because I have a band, and we play that live with my band sometimes. And sometimes in the comments, people are saying, "Oh, you're just stealing Juice's riff there." I'm thinking, hang on, mate, But it's fine. All these things it's all fine. I'm really cool with it. And even the YouTube educator, he just didn't get his details correct.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? I'm quite happy, and I'm really just happy that people want to play that song and to teach it.
Yeah.
To show people how to play, because it's a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
And so it's great if people want to learn it.
You just did the ultimate tutorial right there.
Did I?
Yeah, that was the proper tutorial.
All right.
Done by the person that wrote the riff.
Yeah, but I could get into more detail, but it's just really, the thing with all these things, Rick, is just to approach it slowly. Because if you do it slowly, you've got a chance of kind of getting it right. And just get the sound of it.
Make every voice be heard.
Because everyone's in a rush with all riffs, myself included. You hear a great riff, and you want to just play it, but no one's really thinking about the sound, And it's difficult to make a guitar sound good. That's what we strive for as guitarists. I mean, I've seen people that you've interviewed, they talk about the same thing. It's like, what is the sound? You know?
Right. Now, you were just playing some arrangements before we started
Yeah.
that you've done recently of popular songs that you've done for guitar, for solo guitar.
Yeah.
Talk about the concept, first of all, about what were you saying about it, that it's for semi-pro players? Is that how you say it?
I've always been, it's funny because we all sometimes hang out we go to a hotel, or we might see some guy in the corner playing some classical guitar music.
Yeah.
And the repertoire is really limited. And it's either Recuerdos de la Alhambra or it's just like something like that. And you think, okay, so you carry on with you having your tea in Ritz-Carlton or wherever it is. There's some poor guy, guitar player in the corner, no one's really listening to him. So I thought, I want to offer this guy something where people might go, hang on, I like that tune. First of all, what is it? Oh, I know that. That's really good. So it's just a way of coming up with solo guitar arrangements. I just fancy doing it for myself, really.
Yeah.
Not because I'm thinking of playing in the Ritz-Carlton anytime soon, unless you never know.
Right.
I would do it, because I like to work, but, and I just sort of think that I want to offer these guys, or people just in general, even people who are semi-professional, just to play at home, to play tunes that everybody knows, or a lot of people know, from the great big songbook, and everybody likes. Well, you don't have to sing. If you don't sing, that's okay, because the melody is in the tune. I was talking to the publishers, Hal Leonard, about this book, and they liked the idea of it. And to do it so it's not too difficult, because I'm not that amazing a guitar player either. So I want to do something, write arrangements that I can play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they were into the idea, and then they said, you choose the songs.
Okay.
And then we'll see we'll compare your list with our list. And so I'm thinking about the kind of songs that I like. And who do I like? I like Elton John. I like Stevie Wonder. I like Cat Stevens. I like, I like ABBA. I like Adele, some of Adele's songs. They're really, they kind of move me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're part of the songwriting canon,
That's right.
And also there's some classical stuff I like, like Bach.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of trying to show a little bit of everything. For instance, the Elton John song that I really like is Your Song. For me, that's
one of my favorite songs.
That's the best song that he wrote, I think. It's very simple.
That song.
So nice, isn't it?
Beautiful.
And then I think that's right.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It's nice.
Great.
I love that song. And so for me, the important thing was to try to arrange it in such a way that the melody comes out. Mm-hmm. So the melody is the most important thing. That's the vocals. So think of it like that. So to a guitar player or to a student or to a semi-professional, just think about that. Imagine you're singing it. And then the rest is just kind of falls into place. And when I was arranging it, I was just thinking, what is the melody and what is the root? What are the root notes? And then the other thing is, what is the note in between? You know, it's just like, you only need 3 parts. And that's what's fun about this, about doing this kind of a project, is just that. It's not to try to be clever. I'm not trying to put my personality into it at all.
It's totally faithful to the melody, everything.
There's a few others as well. I mean, of course, ABBA. You know, I had to... etc.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I love that tune. It's a beautiful, beautiful melody. And what I like about that is that the backing vocals kind of play a part in it. And I'm always listening to backing vocals in songs. I love the way people write back, and they were genius at that.
Geniuses.
And that becomes part of the arrangement. And it's really great. You know, backing vocals are always give you a really good clue as to what's happening harmonically with a song, you know, particularly with Sting.
You do a version of Eric Carmen.
All by myself.
All by myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you do that? I can't imagine people taking the songs that I do these countdowns every few months where I'll go and listen to the top 10 songs in the pop charts. With the rare exception, I can't imagine somebody 30 years from now doing arrangements. These songs are so sophisticated, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
The harmony. There's so much that can be done. They sound so complete just by playing the melody, the bass, and one or two little inner lines.
I agree.
That sounds amazing. And every song that you've played has
but,
so much movement.
I haven't got all the details, but I've picked out the essential details.
Right.
It's almost like translating a book
Yes.
from a different language into your language.
Yes.
And the language that we are speaking is harmony and music. Okay, so I can't get all the elements and all the nuances in your language put into this language. But what are the key elements? And like as I said, is the melody is king, and then what are the roots, which is not even that essential. Sometimes you don't need to articulate them, but what are the magic notes in between? But you're right. Music now is. I'm not really complaining because I like a lot of stuff that's out at the moment. It's just that it's a different way of approaching songwriting.
Well, because they're sampling your songs and writing them.
Well, actually, to be fair, most people just use the riff part. I mean, the song does go into different directions.
That's right.
And it changes key, of course.
It does change keys.
But, there's some, I like modern songwriting.
Actually, let's talk about that here. Let's talk about when it changes keys.
Yeah.
How the riff changes there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a... basically the same thing, but actually what's happening here, that's the fingering that I'm doing it now in the key change is actually the fingering that I did
on the original one.
On the original,
yeah,
except much higher up. So we got to C sharp. Takes us nicely to...
Now, had this guitar teacher talked about that part, then he or she would have realized that it's probably just played like that up higher on the same strings.
No, exactly.
Right?
And then nobody figured that out. And some people sort of think that I came up with some strange little harmonic to play this, like as if. It's like, I don't know what... I would never come up with that. So just for the record, the way that, I don't know, they saw some video of me in Sting's house playing it on the guitar that he just had lying around, and people are saying,
I know that video.
Yeah, okay, so what is this guitar? And I don't know. It was
like
just
some
there.
little tiny guitar
It was
or something.
there,
right.
you know? Just whatever was lying around, and I think it's some old Martin or something.
Sure.
It's not my guitar.
Okay, so I want to talk about this, about Sting Police songs that you play.
Yeah.
And you have these riffs that have existed forever that you play, and talk about how you put your own spin on them, or you don't.
I would say that I don't.
Right.
Especially with Police songs, because first of all, they're really good songs. Mm-hmm. I've always enjoyed playing Police songs. People ask me, do you ever get bored with playing the same stuff every night? And the answer is no, because I always find some nuance in it that to make me excited, you know. And they're very strict. Who am I to come up with my own riff on Every Breath You Take? I can't come up with a better riff than that.
Right.
I'm never going to come up with something that's, yeah.
That's so right.
Really? Am I going to do that?
Okay, let
No.
me ask you this. So on the Secret Policeman's Other Ball, when Sting plays Message in a Bottle,
Yeah.
he plays the open, instead of playing C sharp, with the...
Message in a Bottle, yeah.
He plays with the low E string. Sometimes... Yes.
Really? Is that what he
yes.
does?
He does that. Occasionally he does that.
Well, he can do what he wants.
Right.
He wrote the song.
So but he varies that one song like that. I remember watching this when he did it just solo, and then he played the low E on that, and I was like,
I think that's cool.
Beautiful.
We don't do that live, and also now we do it in a different key.
Yeah.
Because every decade we drop a step.
Right.
Or half step. That's how come we're still touring,
Right.
because that's why he's still got his voice.
Yeah.
The trick is to still find the right energy, because changing key to a song, it changes the character of
Now
the
you
song.
do, like if you do Roxanne though, you do it in the same key, don't you?
No, Roxanne was originally in G. That's the original key, but now we
Right.
do it. And we dropped it a half step.
It's nice in that key.
But we really like it in this key.
Yeah.
And it's only a half step, but it's made all the difference to him.
Yeah.
And because he's the singer, he's the
Sure.
one out there singing every night. It's easy for us to just change a key and play a song.
Well, it's
But
nice having the open strings in there and the F sharp.
Yeah, it's a-
F sharp sounds great like that.
Or, which is a little bit clever. I think it's just better to keep it like that. And etc. And I think it's it's very cool in that key.
Yeah.
We've changed the key to a few songs actually. Message, now we do it in B.
There you go.
Which is very nice actually.
Yeah.
But it's changes the character of the song.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Yeah.
But as I said, he's the one who's singing it, and
Yeah.
so he's more comfortable like that. Sometimes we change the key of a song just before a show. He might say, I want to go down half a step, which is always quite dangerous, and mistakes will happen.
Are you on edge with that? Now, if
Yeah.
you make a mistake, does Sting laugh or no?
He does, actually.
Yeah. From the time that we spent
Yeah.
before, I mean, Sting loves your sense of humor, especially your version of Yesterday.
Oh, God. I don't want to... It's one of Sting's little party tricks if I happen to be around and say, Dom, play Yesterday. And I go, come on, mate,
You don't want to do it.
The only joke for those who didn't get it is that I'm playing the wrong chords. Right. And I'm playing a crucially wrong chord. I'm playing a major when it should be a minor.
Yes.
And I'm not going to do it right now for you, Rick. It's not going to happen. All right? Just so you know. But it's just the wrong chord. We have fun with that sometimes.
Yeah.
I remember with Vinnie Colaiuta, we used to do that in sound checks, play wrong chords all the time, just for fun.
Yeah.
Why not?
If you can't laugh about music, do you ever find that the things that you remember from gigs are things where they went totally wrong?
Oh, yeah, sure. But actually, sometimes when things go totally wrong, amazing discoveries are made.
Mm-hmm.
That can happen too. But going back to your point, is does Sting mind when we make mistakes and stuff? No, he doesn't. What he minds is if you're not present.
Right.
That's what you should be careful with. If you think that you've got this and you're feeling a little bit confident about yourself, that's when he has a sensitivity to that.
Yeah.
So when you make mistakes, it shows him that you actually are alive and there and present because you're taking a risk or you don't mind failing. It really is like that. And he makes mistakes too sometimes, but it doesn't really matter. And the funny thing, Rick, is that because I've been with him for like 34 or 35 years, a long time.
Yeah.
Sometimes he makes a mistake, and I make the same mistake. Like I'm serious. It's like, did that just happen? It's like I made a mistake, but so did he. It's like we both got this, and sometimes it's an arrangement mistake, or it's a semitone out or something. And it's funny because when I go in the van with the band after the show to the hotel or whatever, everyone's going, "Oh yeah, I remember the second chorus of Synchronicity. That was they really messed up there. What happened there?" And I'm quietly sort of thinking, it wasn't a mistake. I was in sync with the singer, the band leader. But you guys didn't pick up on it. You know, you're not on the same frequency. We're not on the same Wi-Fi. But I mean, that's an exaggeration. But that's how deep this kind of thing is when you play with someone for a long, long time, and I'm sure some of your musicians would relate to this, you have a kind of telepathy. And we have that, which is really, really strong.
I asked Sting about, on the bass line on If I Ever Lose My Faith, about every other time he plays da-da-da-da-da-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
And if that was a conscious thing. Of course, it was a dumb question. Of course it's a conscious thing. Yeah. Sting does these things because he just hears them as other hooks that just happen in other instruments.
Yeah. I didn't notice that, actually, when you brought that up. But yeah, sure, he does. He comes up with these little quirks. I mean, he has a very lateral sense of arrangement.
You mentioned that before. What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
It's like lateral puzzles. You know, when you look at puzzles where, you know, something's in 3D, but it's not in 3D. You know, it's like some of these optical illusions.
Yeah.
I think his music is like optical illusions sometimes.
Right.
Because he comes up with chord choices that I never would hear anywhere else. And I think...
Right.
You know, I want to show you an example. I like this song, Hounds of Winter. These are Sting's chords. So that's all good and well. That's a very nice setup for a verse.
Yeah.
But when he goes into the bridge, the pre-chorus, he goes... That's the beginning of the bridge. Those are the third and fourth chords of the bridge, which are the verse chords.
Right.
It's just putting them in there, and then... they have a different character from the point of view of a pre-chorus. And it's nobody would come up with that.
It sounds very medieval to me.
Yeah.
He has this sense of,
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like it's from the Renaissance era or something like that.
Sometimes, yeah. He's a really clever songwriter. That's just it. And that's why I'm continuously interested to see what he's going to come up with. Every time I come back to his table, I want to see what he's got. But by the same token, he wants to see what I've got because I go out and do stuff as well, you know.
Okay, so you have this other career that you've had as a solo artist.
Yeah.
You doing these solo records allows you to bring something to the table next time that you get together with Sting.
What good would I be to him if I were hanging out with him all the time? I don't think we would really grow together.
Right.
It's like having the same chess partner.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't really, you've got to go somewhere else and see a different approach. So when I go off with my band, you know, I learn stuff from them that I go, wow. I listen to the drummer or the keyboard player or there's a different approach to just playing music. And so that's what I'm talking about. So more importantly, what do I bring to my band from the Sting world is a really strong sense of being a band leader and arrangement. Because Sting is obsessed with arrangement. He goes into minute detail, forensic detail with arrangement.
Sure.
And voicings.
Yeah.
The voicings of a chord. He's obsessed with it. And so I've become obsessed with that too. So I bring that to my band. I'm going, stop, you know, these are not the right notes for this chord. And it's really, which notes do you take out?
Sure.
So I want 2-note chords, not 3-note chords, or even 1 note. Because we have a bass player, so the less you play, the better. It's like a game of Jenga. How much can you take away?
It's still standing.
And the thing is still standing.
Yeah.
That's what really good arrangement is. So I bring that to my band, but then they give me so much. And then when I come to Sting's terms, I've got these different approaches or different concepts or different rhythms or different ways of articulating a chord. And he goes, well, what's that? You know, so like I bring souvenirs, I put them on the table and we mess around with them like kids. Because we are playing. It makes him look better. I mean, of course. And so I do that with my band. So I bring a lot of his band leader chops to my band and it really works, you know, especially the strictness of voicings, having the right voicings. It's crucial. Mm-hmm. And Sting's music is really reliant on that.
Yes.
You can't play them just in open chords. If you want to do it right, play the right voicings. Look into it.
That's really everything. That's so much of that detail in his music is so crucial to it being uncopyable, as I say.
Yeah. I saw that video you did about that, and I think you're right. He is uncopyable, and it's about the voicings. I mean, For instance, he doesn't like using thirds. I've noticed that you don't hear a lot of thirds in his music, but that's what makes it unique. And I remember we were talking yesterday about his music. If you really want a really good clue as to how he harmonizes, how he makes music, listen to the backing vocals and imagine everything else taken out. Then you get a real sense of how he really hears this piece of music. The backing vocals are a really good clue as to what he believes is the true harmony. And they're the really crucial notes, and they give me clues as a guitar player. So
Sure.
I'm thinking that's where I want to go, more in that sort of vibe. Because like other songwriters, you can just play open chords, a major or minor or diminished or half diminished or what else is there? A seventh, and a major seventh. That's it.
Yeah.
But Sting's music has got it's the way he uses ninths and it's the way he doesn't use certain notes.
That's right.
So they're not open chords. You can't play cowboy chords.
I mean,
on
his
Sting
first
songs.
hit song in The Police is Roxanne.
Yeah.
And it has those sus chords and everything in it.
Yeah.
It's just so unusual.
Yeah.
And it was something that, I mean, other than I Feel Fine by the Beatles, by John
Yeah.
Lennon, where he uses that, everything, you just wouldn't hear that stuff.
No, and also rhythmically, it's very unusual.
oh,
It's,
that-
it's
I mean,
like
that
it's
was-
a tango.
Yeah.
It's like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. The drums is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, boom, boom, boom. Who would do that?
Right.
And the guitar is doing on the downbeat 3, 4. It's a tango.
Yes.
Like, and it's like who does that? And that was a huge hit. I think that's what I mean by lateral.
Yes.
Is rhythmically lateral. It's like
Yeah.
nobody would think of that.
Yeah.
And then of course Stewart, kind of nailed it. And
Yeah.
and Andy.
And
I'm
Andy.
a huge Andy Summers
Yes.
fan. And you talk about suspension chords, you talk about the suspension.
Yes.
That's what I like about Andy's approach to guitar playing, is he uses a lot of suspension and it's the right thing for Sting's music.
Dominic, I want to ask you about your influences, musical influences. Let's talk about guitar influences, for example.
Well, I mean, I was born in South America, in Argentina. Of course, when I was a kid, I was listening to a lot of samba music from Argentina, and Brazilian music was always around. But, my sister had Beatles records and the Stones and Creedence Clearwater. So the Stones, Beatles and Creedence Clearwater and Simon and Garfunkel were the only kind of Western, American or British rock records that we had.
Right.
So I that's all I listened to.
Yep.
Was those 4 groups. Nothing really else. There wasn't that much choice. Maybe the Monkees. But that's what I listened to when I was growing up, and of course it had a big impression on me, as it would, And now we all know, many years later, that the Beatles, are probably one of the most amazing bands that ever existed, and people will remember them in 100 years from now. I think they will be remembered in 100 years.
Yes.
There's not many bands you can say that about. So the Beatles, and then of course then I started listening more to guitar music. I became obsessed with Jimi Hendrix.
Yep.
So I got into Hendrix.
Now, is this when you were, because I know you moved to Wisconsin eventually.
So I lived in Argentina till I was 11 years old.
Okay.
And then we moved to Racine, Wisconsin.
Right.
Which is...
Because your dad got transferred there,
yeah,
right?
my dad got a job in Wisconsin.
Yep.
From the same company he was working with in Argentina. So I was kind of dropped in America,
Of all places.
just dumped there.
Like in the middle of America.
Blindfolded. And I landed in America.
Yeah.
But I landed in the Midwest.
Yes.
And I thought, this is America.
Right.
And I still think that.
That's
the
America.
funny thing. I think the Midwest, to me, is what represents America.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And I love it.
Yeah.
And I love Wisconsin. I love Illinois and just the Midwest in general. So I was dropped there, and then of course I listened to more music there.
Yeah.
And this is like 71, 72, and this was when a lot of singer-songwriter stuff was coming around, like Carole King, James Taylor. So I was always more interested in songwriting than I was in guitar playing, and it's still that way. I'm not obsessed with the guitar. I'm not that guy. I haven't really been in a room practicing all my life, but I've been listening to music all my life. So I listened to James Taylor, Carole King, Stevie Wonder, everything that was really good around that time. But still Hendrix.
Yeah.
I thought Hendrix is my
go-to guy
for rock guitar. It doesn't really get better than that. Maybe Robin Trower. I started listening to Robin Trower. I thought, hang on a minute, that sounds Hendrixy, but it's different sound. I like this. Anyone who sang or who played that style of blues rock on guitar, which was quite rare at that time, it still hadn't really come through. Then it came through much more later on, but that's what I was into. And then, of course, everything else. I moved to England, in '73. Then I got into all the English stuff, and I got into, of course, some pretty astronomical bands like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. But it was always the band that came first to me rather than the guitar player.
Right.
And it's still that way, But I just happened to have a way of, I was able to play the guitar well enough to be
and were you playing
in
in bands all?
Yeah, I was always playing in a band here or there in school or wherever. Yeah, and guitar was I thought, well, if I'm going to play an instrument, it has to be a guitar.
Yeah.
That's obviously the...
And you would play covers, right?
Yeah, playing covers, Stones songs, attempting to play Queen songs, and nobody could ever play Queen. It always sounded terrible. And Stevie Wonder songs, but I always liked Stevie Wonder songs, and the reason why I was okay with them is because the kind of chords that he was using.
Yeah.
And he was using like jazz chords.
Right.
And that's why the bossa nova helped me a lot from growing up in Argentina. See, all this started helping me because bossa nova music and it's jazz basically.
Exactly.
Just with it, bossa nova literally means new beat. It's just a different beat to jazz chords.
Well, historically, jazz music has been swing music and bossa nova music both together.
Yeah. So whenever I heard anything with those type of chords, I always recognized them. I thought, ooh, I like that. That's why Stevie Wonder immediately, his albums, Talking Book and Inner Visions and Fulfillingness, and of course, Songs in the Key of Life was just those 4 albums just completely blew my mind. Anything that had that sort of chord language, and of course, bands like Steely Dan, when they were using sophisticated a sophisticated dialect. I always liked that, It always spoke to me as a muso. So now I was getting more into harmony, and so then I wanted to try to figure out what is all this stuff, what's going on. So then I learned a way of chord language.
Okay, we talked last night about guys like Larry Carlton.
Oh yeah. Well, I would put him as a kind of accompanist to great songs. I don't think there's a better guitar player than Larry Carlton. And his genius, if you like, I think is his choice of notes.
Yes.
I mean, forget we know he's got a good feel and a good sound. It should be a given that that's all good. So with that...
The solos that he did were beyond genius and everything, but his accompaniments...
Yeah, and his economy with notes, it's like a lot of the time he's not playing the root note and he's not playing the melody. So he's staying away from what the bass player is doing and from what the singer is doing.
Yeah.
And he's just playing what complements both of those elements. And that is perfect guitar playing. To me, is a lot of the time he's just playing 2 notes. Because I analysed a lot. I did everything by ear back in the day.
Yep.
I was just listening with headphones. And so that's why I really, really admire his playing, and Steve Lukather had a big impression on me as well because of the way that his choices.
No choices.
And see, what's great about these people is that they don't try to put their personality in the music. It's selfless, it's egoless.
Serve the song.
But by virtue of not trying to do that, their personality somehow comes through, but in a positive way.
Right.
So that's a Lukather-esque type of riff on Beat It or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's Larry Carlton because of the style.
Yes.
But it doesn't interfere with the narrative. That's why I consider them the greatest session players. And another person I'd like to mention is Lindsey Buckingham. I think the greatest masterclass of how to play on a song is on the album Rumours. Every single song, the guitar playing is absolutely sublime. Not only tonally, the sound, the
feel,
choices,
everything.
the notes,
yes.
the attitude. and how it supports the song. So these are my heroes, and Andy Summers as well.
Yeah.
As a session player, Andy Summers, I don't consider him a session player. He's a band member, you know.
Yeah.
But myself as a session player, I take inspiration from that way of approaching music. So slowly, these people became my heroes.
When you joined Sting's band, I loved your playing, and of course that makes sense because you like all the same people I like.
Yeah.
No, your taste emanated from those people that were your influence.
Yeah.
And deciding on what types of things work right for the song.
Yeah, it's exactly that. And but those are my heroes.
Yeah.
So what I'm always thinking, what would he do? What would they do? You know, because I became a session player in London, more and more busy in the late '80s, in the mid to late '80s, and in those days there was a huge void for a guitar player to play on records. Mm-hmm. So I somehow fell into that scene with producers calling me up every day. You know, it's like, oh, he's the guy who can adapt to anything. So I was like a sort of Carlson light.
Right.
You know, I was...
just out of curiosity, what would you bring to the studio with you back then? What kind of gear would you bring if you were doing a session?
I always had a Strat. The most important thing is to bring a Strat and a Les Paul.
Okay.
And a pedal board, which was just like some dodgy science project. You know, like with just...
And would you carry some combo amp with you or something?
No, I mean, not if... didn't have to,
right.
You know, but a Mesa Boogie would have been my go-to amp. If they didn't, that's what I would ask them to hire.
Okay.
So a Mark III Mesa Boogie, those chunky ones that really heavy, really hurt my back a few times.
So you wouldn't be carrying those.
Anything so small can be so heavy. You try putting that in a station wagon, you know, to break your back. Anyway, I had those, and I always brought a nylon string guitar with me.
Okay.
And I remember, except the one exception was the first really big break that I had was with Phil Collins. Mm-hmm. That was in 1988 or 89. I was on the But Seriously album. Mm-hmm. I remember showing up there. I didn't bring anything. I didn't have any...
Did you know Phil at all? Or
I didn't know him, but Hugh Padgham, who I'd been doing a lot of sessions with, thought of me as the guy that could play on this record.
Okay.
He put me up for it.
All right.
And I actually put myself up for it too, because in those days I was quite ambitious. I was just like, I want it to work. Okay. So I said, Hugh, I want to play on the Phil album. And so he's told Phil that there's this guy who wants to play on your record. But then that actually happened. So I get called and I'm thinking, he really wants me to play? He's like, oh shit. So I show up at Phil's, at the Genesis studio in Surrey, England.
Okay.
But I didn't have any stuff with me. I didn't have any gear because I was on tour with another band around that time and I flew from Munich and it's a long story. So I show up with no gear. Phil's never met me. But what I ended up using was Mike Rutherford's guitars.
Okay.
That were in the garage.
Did he know that, I wonder? Probably not.
No, I don't think he cared. But I remember on that session, I remember there was a song, Another Day in Paradise.
Yeah.
That was the first tune we did. All I heard was a pad, or a keyboard pad, and a drum machine.
Okay.
That's all I heard. And so it's like... I just heard, okay, it's E minor, and it's D, and it's A minor. I thought, it's pretty simple, and nice. So I was just like warming up in the control room, like a... I just thought, that's just like I'm marking it.
Sure.
But it's just an arpeggio way of doing it, just for my own pleasure. But then they went, that's the riff. And I'm going, that's not, hang on a minute, mate. You know,
I'm going to work
I'm going to do
part.
something really epic that's going to show, first of all, not only how great your song is, but how great I am.
All right.
I'm coming to the public now. The public will know me and my riffs.
Right.
And they went, no, but this is what we like. That taught me a big lesson, huge lesson. That was the sort of change when I realized, oh my God, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It really isn't about you. It's about the song. And that's why I sort of grew up that day. I realized, God, that's it.
I have a saying.
Don't try and be clever. Don't try and bring yourself into it.
Play simply so that others may simply play.
Wow, I love that. I'm going to use that. But that's exactly it.
That's that.
Yeah, so it's just a very simple riff that my next door neighbor can play.
Right.
You know, it's the same thing. I played a song in a
Well, that's not it. I'm going to come up with the
you know,
the parts.
and it's the same thing happened in Europe. I played on a guy called Ronan Keating. He had a big hit. It means nothing to me. It's like it was a big song for Notting Hill, that film.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's all it is. It's
Yeah, I
just
remember that
very,
song.
very simple.
Yeah.
And I still try to apply those same principles when I'm playing with Sting. So how can you be simple but sophisticated?
Right.
Because, you know, it's still got to have some integrity. And, yeah, I mean, I learned a lot from Phil Collins. I have to thank him, you know, and Hugh Padgham for putting me in that position. And then everything I played after that was fine. I played on 5 songs on that album, or 6 songs. Eric Clapton's on it, Pino Palladino's on it. So suddenly I was, like, thrown into this, like, arena of, like, elite musicians. And so that I could be like Lukather and Carlton and these people. I wanted to be that. And put me in studios, put me in situations, but I ended up in the Sting situation. And I used all my influences, you know, like all the people, the Stones, the Beatles, the Latin American music.
Yeah.
That came into everything that I do, you know, and also these guitarists whom I speak of, you know. And there's a lot of other music. I've always been into classical stuff, like Bach. Actually, I've got a Bach arrangement
I want to hear it.
of for the book.
Yep.
Because I thought everybody should have one Bach piece or
Absolutely.
classical piece. So you know the song "Whiter Shade of Pale," which everybody
Of course I
loves.
do, yeah.
And it came from Air on a G Strings,
Right.
which is.
Wow.
What a great tune, but that's Whiter Shade of Pale. I don't know why I played that, but that's in the book as well, so I'm going to be doing that one. And but all this, it all comes from the same place, you know, the influences. I like the rock influence. I love rock music. I love funk music. Of course, I was into Earth, Wind and Fire and all that. Like, what? What is that? And that got me interested in production and how people make music. And it's just, there's so much out there. And I feel so lucky to have been brought up when I was brought up. I think we're roughly the same kind of age.
Yep.
And I feel fortunate for that. But I'm not going to say that our time is better than it is today. That's not what it is. Today is just different. The way that music is heard and the way people respond to music is very different.
It is.
It has no bearing on our experience. I'm very proud of my generation but I don't think it's the be-all and end-all. I think music today, some of it is really, really cool, but it's much more reliant on production. It's much more about sound. And so sound has become more important than harmony, for now.
I also think, too, that most kids, I mean, I've got 3 young kids, they listen to music with earbuds and things. They don't usually listen with speakers.
No.
And they experience music in a very different way, kind of a closed-in way.
Yeah.
Now, we used to wear headphones, right, as kids?
Yeah.
Listen to Pink Floyd and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But we would also listen on stereos. And I think that's a thing that I don't see that often.
Even sometimes people don't even listen with earbuds. They just listen on their phone with one side.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, okay.
But if you hold your phone this way, if it's an iPhone, it's in stereo.
I know, I noticed that. But sometimes I'm holding it like that, so I can hear this. And it's like, is this guy okay? Or has he got bad eyesight? Is he trying to read a menu? You know? Speaking of modern songwriters, can I just, I did an Adele song that I really like.
Easy on Me? Yes.
A different type of songwriting, but I really like it. Beautiful. I like that. That's nice. It's a totally different style.
So, Dominic, you're out on tour right now. You have your new CD that's out on ECM Records.
Yeah.
This is your 3rd, like I said, but you have a pretty vast catalog of music that you've recorded over your career, and you're always working on new things. If you're doing stuff, if you're out on tour, are you putting stuff down? I always ask people this: are you putting stuff down on your phone, or do you typically not write when you're touring?
I don't write when I'm touring, just because I don't really have anything to draw from. It doesn't inspire me so much. I like to write when everything stops.
Okay. Do you have to take off a week or so before you even start getting inspired again? If you get off tour?
It's almost like
or is there a switch that goes off? Or
I need to summons the ideas. It's almost like I've got to turn on the signals.
Right.
And I can do that. It's like it's a muscle. It's like training for a marathon or something. Yeah. So I turn on the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
And I go for long walks, and I get into that creative zone, and I open the windows to creativity. But when I'm on tour, I don't feel like that. Or I can write music when I'm on tour, but I don't think I'll come up with the best stuff. I come up with the best stuff when what inspires me to write music isn't music. It's just hanging out with friends or my dogs, or just like life experiences, getting on a bus, and I write notes about things that move me,
right?
Like a lyricist would. It's just that I don't write lyrics. My story is harmonic and rhythmic and melodic.
Yes,
and I think, as many people do, that with instrumental music you can tell a story, and that's the most important thing.
Okay, so I have one last question for you here. Do lyrics matter if there's a bad melody?
Do lyrics matter if there's a bad melody? Well, of course, yeah.
If you have a great melody and great lyrics, then you have the ultimate thing, right?
Yeah.
But if you have great lyrics with a bad melody, does anyone care that you have great lyrics?
I think it's better to have great lyrics with a bad melody than
a great melody with bad lyrics.
Yeah.
What about if I said to you, well, when I listen to Elton John, a lot of Elton John, I can't understand, like a Rocket Man, what Elton John, I mean, I know what the lyrics are in the chorus, but many people don't know what the lyrics are with Elton John songs, yet they'll listen to them for years and not have any idea what the lyrics are.
Well, that's the best thing about them sometimes. It's
Right.
like the less you know, the better, because if it really was clear and they were bad, like some dodgy love song,
Right.
then it would be like, mate, are you really going to say that? You know, but that's what I like about...
Of course, the beauty of Elton John is Bernie's lyrics are amazingly good,
Yeah.
even if you can't understand them. But once you find out what they are, you're like, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, there's nothing worse to me than an embarrassing lyrics. Doesn't matter how good the melody is, that'll put me off. But, you know, if you have a great lyric...
Yeah.
A good and the melody is not so strong, I can tolerate that more than the other. Well, I'm very lucky to be working with someone who has both. You know, it's astonishing. Because sometimes I don't know what he's on about. And I'll openly say, hey, Sting, what is this song about, mate? And he just laughs. But what's great about his lyrics is that it's about what you want it to be about.
Right.
So he's not specific. And it's kind of impressionistic in a ways. So it may not be about what you think it's about. It's not about boy and girl, necessarily. It might be about something else. So it just opens the mind. And then that mixed with that type of harmony and rhythm, the complexity that goes with it, the complexity of the music complements the complexity of the lyric. So it's like Noel Coward. It's like,
Right.
That's why it's a great song. That's what Steely Dan is. I mean, you know, it's like the Asia album is like lyrically and musically perfect, right? Am I wrong?
No, it's perfect.
You know?
Dominic, I've never seen a white guitar like this. I just have to say that this has really been the highlight, other than hanging out with you, is to actually see this white guitar in person. I mean, it's really...
Well, I kind of reached the Liberace segment of my career.
It is a work of art. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
And it sounds amazing.
It's made by KARIS. These guys in Japan who just get it right every single time. They wanted to do a tribute guitar for me,
Yeah.
so they made me this one. And it really is. It's a stunning guitar.
It's beautiful.
So I'm
and the
happy with
back, can you just turn it around for a second? Because
yeah.
the back is beautiful. The back and sides are
maple.
beautiful.
It's really tight grain wood.
It looks almost like a fabric or
it's like
something.
pearl almost.
Yes.
The color is it's a beautiful color.
Yeah.
And you know, I love it.
Well, thank you so much for being my guest here today.
Thank you, Rick.
It's always great to see you and hear you play.
And to see and hear you. You know, you're a great educator and friend now. Cheers, mate.
Excellent. Thanks.